comic friends. I'm Travis.
And I'm the disembodied voice.
And this is
Monster Comic Review.
That's right, for comics for the week of August 27th, 2016.
July.
Right, we're in August
Let's
now.
do
July.
the time warp again.
I'm never going to get the date straight. Anyway, it's a crapload of DC books with one Marvel tucked in there somewhere. So we're going to fly through DC Comics. This is Action Comics number 960. And after reading 959 ones before this, what do we think?
I think that you make me laugh. And you can go ahead and talk. And yes, Wonder Woman has a dang lightning bolt, everybody. You see it on the first page.
Not in this, we don't.
Stop this one?
No.
Just punch me. The disembodied voice should not be doing comic reviews this week, apparently. It was
Clearly,
a very long Monday.
Clearly, see, there's the first page, no lightning bolt. Clearly,
Fine.
the disembodied voice either drank too much or did not drink enough before these reviews.
I'm guessing the latter. And
Any
since I
rate.
don't drink, it's always never enough.
Action Comics. Wonder Woman is in Action Comics. I have dropped Action Comics.
Good, because I obviously don't know a dang thing about it.
And,
It was so memorable.
you know, I mean, that's so, Doomsday runs away. Oh my gosh, where's he gone? Oh, he can,
that's right.
he can hunt Kryptonians. That's his favorite thing to hunt. So, oh my gosh, they might be going after Jonathan. They rush after Jonathan. The family dynamic in here is really weak. And that's not even comparing it to Superman, where the family dynamic is awesome. Just in general, it's really weak in here. Wonder Woman was okay in this. I do not care for the art. The faces, it's like it has hints of bad anime to it, the art style in it, but never fully commits. I almost feel like I wish it would commit further, like Ms. Marvel does or something like that. There's just something about I do not like. Well, here's the thing is, also the Wonder Woman's face, and actually Lois's face too, follows the David Finch women faces, extra pouty lips, the round cheeks.
I see what you mean.
The China doll kind of a look, and she's that way everywhere. She has this kind of pouty China doll kind of look. It's a look that I do not care for in comics.
There we go.
With
That's
women,
a perfect.
It bothers me.
Perfect example right there of Lois.
You know what? That's not Lois. Where's Lois at? There's
That's
Lois.
the one I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I do not care for that. I do not care for that look. They all have that, like I said, the pouty kissy,
really do.
the pouty kissy lips. They're a little tarted up, in a sense. I guess is what it makes me feel like.
Yeah, like.
You know, one of them
having
having that look is fine. A bunch of them having that look is not okay. So now that I've picked on the artist, I guess we better talk about it. The artist is Tyler Kirkham. Is the artist with colors by Ulysses Areola. So I don't know if it's the colorist. Did lots of the heavy lifting. That's why the lips are drawn that way. But so I don't know. You know, so I'm not a fan of that. Story-wise, I'm not particularly a fan of either. Because like I said, I do not like the dynamic. I mean, Wonder Woman shows up. You think that's going to be somewhat complicated because, of course, they're going with the New 52 in the sense that she dated Superman, not this Superman, another Superman.
Right.
She knows that. Seems to be relatively okay with that because she quickly shows up and Clark, Kent, and Superman both basically confirm for her that this ain't the same Superman that she dated for a while or whatever, which I was never keen on that whole thing anyway, the whole dating of them anyway. But, so, yeah, I don't know. It wasn't horrific, but nothing about it appealed to me really either.
Okay. Nope.
Batgirl, issue number 1. No rebirth, just Batgirl issue number 1. What'd you think? Written by Hope Larson, with drawn by Raphael Albuquerque and colors by Dave McCraig.
I liked it better than
Then Burnside.
Yeah.
Batgirl. That's how everybody's calling it. That's what I'm gonna call it. The last run of the New 52 of Batgirl.
Yeah. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. It's.
Do you have anything good to say about it?
Well, we're kind of starting over in a way. I mean, because she's gone to to Japan.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call that starting over, but
No.
she's moving on.
Right.
She's moved on from Burnside. She's leaving Burnside and all the Burnsideness behind, or attempting to.
She's trying to.
Which I thought they did a good job of that. I thought they got a good job, if nothing else, of a new writer with a new direction for the book to go in, to acknowledge what happened prior, instead of just acting like it never existed, like some comics tend to do. Quite frankly, like Burnside seemed to did when the Burnside Batgirl came out, just kind of like suddenly they ignored everything that was before it. In here, they acknowledge that she's gone to Japan. She's gonna travel across Asia and decompress from the craziness that was Burnside. Dump the ex. Having dumped the ex, and she's got a business running, but she doesn't need to be in charge of it. They reference Frankie in this, which is her friend, not being Oracle, but referencing her being running the company for her while she's gone, being the PR person for all that and whatnot. So she's off, and she's looking for a 1920s superheroine.
Yes.
Right? The Fruit Bat.
And that whole part was pretty interesting.
Which sounds very Barbara Gordon-esque anyway, that she would be intrigued by this woman who was out, fighting, pre-colonial, colonial, that'd be colonial Japan, right? Tyranny and stuff like that, so she's going there. The one thing I didn't care for the book that seemed kind of ham-fisted, if anything, was she's going to a hostel. She's in the hostel. The hostel, you just you rent a room and you have roomies and whatnot. And her roomie is her best childhood friend from when she lived in Chicago. Conveniently.
Yeah. And we didn't really need a side story, did we? Because that feels like a side story.
No, it doesn't to me. I mean, they've already implicated him as knowing something. I mean, that's why people attacked him.
Yeah.
And he's acting like, I don't know anything. And even Barbara thinks he knows something. So that's not a side story.
But, okay.
What did you think the main story was? Chasing down Fruit Bat?
Yes.
Fruit Bat was the side story. She's already done with that. She runs into Fruit Bat, this little lady in a wheelchair, who, of course, when the evil Sailor Moon girls show up and start throwing shurikens and whatnot, she's like jumping up, going bing, 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 bing.
Yeah,
and she's bouncing shurikens off her arms and off of drums and back at people and cutting their ties off and all kinds of stuff like that. So, but then to me that seemed more like a side story, and her just going, "Oh, you need to, find yourself a trainer," and then she literally almost runs smack into an MMA tournament kind of a thing. So, yeah, there's some good elements in here.
And, yeah, it is. I understand you're saying. It's like, well, how are we going to get this person in this? Let's just have them magically appear at the hospital.
Well, instead of it being a childhood friend, because I don't know if the childhood friend aspect of it is that important. I mean, is that so she's totally invested in this person and whatnot? But she's already suspicious of him. So it could have just easily been anybody else in that room that she comes in and immediately gets on with. They have a ton of stuff in common that they could have had, a brief conversation. She has a backpack that has, Black Canary singing on it or something, and they hit it off on that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So they seem like best buddies right off the bat. They go down to this drumming festival that's going on. They're having a gay old time, and then things go weird. And she's like, oh, then she can just go, oh, this person seems nice, but they must be hiding something. Would have been just as easy to have done as this whole childhood friend thing.
Yeah, but doesn't her friend have previous issues? Remember, he did a stint in juvie or whatever. So I think
I guess in the stint of, cops' kids turn out two ways. They turn into cops or they turn out bad. Which are you going to be? I guess we'll see more how important that plays. But that was the one part that seemed a little But I like the transition. Because this doesn't feel like Gail Simone's Batgirl, which is dark, grim, beyond belief kind of thing, which I enjoyed for it being a dark, grim book. And it's not saccharine, happy,
cute.
goofy, giggle, let's all drink our espresso over the top.
It's not emoji Batgirl.
Right. It's somewhere between, which I think is a good medium. I mean, like I said, so you could take what's going on as being serious and not being a funny Archie comic, but at the same time, it's not so sinister that you're just like, who's going to eat whose face off, who's going to put who in a trap and snap their legs off, who all the things that Gail likes to put in her books that make it brutal, which I have nothing wrong with that. And really, I don't have a problem with the Burnside Batgirl either. Different
Yeah,
take,
she's very
diff-
glossy, but
different,
not bad.
different take on the character, a different style for a different audience. This one to me feels like it kind of hits a medium between the two.
Yes, I agree.
So I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing what we're gonna get out of it and whatnot. So yeah. Anything else to say about it?
Nope.
Detective Comics. Batman Detective Comics issue number 937, which I have actually read a couple hundred of these, so I can actually say I'm up to speed.
Yeah, truth.
What do you think?
It's one of those things where you take a good thing and turn it into a sinister thing.
The book is sinister?
No.
Then explain yourself.
No, you talk first because maybe I'm wrong again. I've been wrong about everything today.
You can't say that and then go, oh, I'm not going to say anything wrong.
Okay, this is the one. Detective Comics is the one where they have the team, yes?
Yes.
Okay. The Batman.
Uh-huh.
You take something like Batman, who is a noble, ideal,
Right.
and you turn it into something sinister by replicating it, and then they're killing people. Batman doesn't kill people.
They're killing terrorists.
They're still killing people.
They're terrorists.
They're people.
Terrorists. Terrorists aren't people. Yes. 100% agree with what you're saying. What they've done, which I think is an interesting thing, basically, the military has gone, you know what? Batman's extremely kick-ass. And in his town, he wrecks stuff. But we want that on a global scale. So they literally spend their time as much as they can analyzing Batman, all of his gizmos, gadgets, and everything else. And they basically put together even a higher level than Green Berets version that are Batman, modeled after Batman. They all have these, they all wear helmets, full helmets. They're constantly getting information fed to them about, this is how Batman would strike somebody, or this is how Batman would attack somebody, or whatever. And so they're this lethal strike force. And we do see video of them going in and looks like they're rescuing what's a nuclear missile. And in the process of collecting that nuclear bomb, they basically kill everybody in the place. They use extreme force,
Yes.
but they're a military action. And then that's a whole other,
Yeah, I know.
we're not going to argue that.
deal with
We're not
that.
going to argue that. But anyway, so yes, they're military, not civilian. They're military, and so they take it to that next level as far as that goes. So they, have this, fighting force of Batman copies. They're not Batman, but they're Batman copies. And something bad, not the League of Assassins, which is bad. The League of Shadows, which is supposedly infinitely worse, is supposedly secretly infiltrated Gotham, and is going to do something really, really bad.
Right.
And they're there to stop it.
preparing.
They're going to preemptively strike once they figure out where it's at, and they're going to do that. And Batman says that they're nuts. There's no such thing. Whatever. At any rate, but so they're going to strike at that, and it's run. The whole thing is run by Kate Kane's father, the general. He's in
Yes.
charge of it, but he wants, his ultimate goal is he needs somebody to be in charge in the field, and he wants that to be Batwoman. And
She's
that's
not having any
well, that's off the reservation as far as Batwoman's concerned. She actually likes being the civilian person that she is. She really has given up the military life as a whole. She loved it, but at the end of the day, it didn't treat her well. Even though now, don't ask, don't tell, isn't an issue. Still, she does not. She still does not want to go
harbor
back.
some feelings.
She still does not want to go back to that. So, yeah, I really like the comic. I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
I think
As far as just really being a fun superhero comic.
It is. My only problem
Hmm?
is that previous incarnations of Kate's dad
Mm-hmm.
have been very pro Kate, but not
Yeah.
helpful and
Yeah.
kind seeming. And
Yeah.
this is like he had a personality transplant or something.
Well,
Let's put it
I
that
think
way.
I think something happened in between because they had kind of a falling out. I mean, they
I know
clearly
they
had a rough patch.
I know they did.
They had a rough patch in the New 52 towards the end. But I think that he's seen enough that he's worried that Kate's going to get herself, that Batman's corrupted her in some sense, and he needs her back. But you're right. You're right. He is way more hardcore in this
and maybe,
and less pro Kate. You got the impression before he was pro Kate over the military.
right, and pro Kate whatever she wanted to do.
Yeah.
But
But Dad knows best.
I think that it might be kind of a reflection of society right now too, where some people who are maybe more to the right of the spectrum are terrified
Yeah.
And because they're terrified, they're willing to entertain doing things that would be considered heinous in previous times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And are still heinous, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we're not here for my opinion. At least not about something that's in the comic
not
book.
politics.
Exactly. Yeah, that'd be a whole different video. But I can appreciate that because there are people that feel that way now that perhaps 10 or 15 years ago wouldn't have.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I guess
I like it. I like the storyline.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting and whatnot. They're kind of billing these guys as being the bad guys. They're not really the bad guys, though. There's this more sinister thing. I think what ultimately will happen, if I want to predict the story going forward, is this other worse thing shows up, and that's going to be the thing that reconciles Kate and her father, in some sense. Even though this is a pretty heavy portrayal.
Yes.
But he's betrayed her before. About her sister and about a lot of other stuff. So
That's
this
true.
is nothing new as far as that goes. But I'm just thinking that that's going to be ultimately will be the bridge that moves them back together in some sense or another. When that happens, I would guess. I'll even say, hey, even Tim Drake isn't too obnoxious in this.
that's true. And he's just so your favorite.
Not anyway.
Yeah.
Good stuff. By far, right now, the more entertaining Batman book.
Yes.
By far.
Yes,
Because Batman's not really in it much. I mean, he's kind of in this one, but not a whole lot. I don't know. That's not really why.
and he's not whiny.
Yeah. Okay, you're going to talk Flash. Issue number 3.
I read it. I didn't really care. The end.
Yeah. I'm not a big Flash fan, as I say every time I talk about this book. Suddenly now there's a bunch of people who have the Speed Force, so they can all run fast like the Flash, or in some level like the Flash and whatnot, which then just makes the Flash even less unique, which means he's even less appealing to me than he was before. Because now there's a whole bunch of people that can do what he does.
I appreciate that he helped the very frightened girl.
Oh, he's a nice guy.
Oh, no. That was the only part that I really liked.
Oh, okay.
Because it was like, okay, this is what the Speed Force is doing to some people. Because
Right.
it's like, it's not so black and white that it's just, we're going to be criminals or we're going to be superheroes.
Right.
There's
People just want to live
someone
their
who
lives
is-
too.
Who is absolutely terrified because she can't slow down.
Right.
So that was the part that I liked the best.
Yeah. And then you get the villain at the very end exposed in a really weird kind of a way that they go about that. A flashback cliffhanger. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Godspeed!
have nothing against the Flash. I really don't. I just
I'm interested in reading this
didn't
book.
really particularly care for that book.
Yeah. Speaking of other
Wow,
turkeys, because
yeah.
hey, I always love my thumbs down when I talk about Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. Issue 1, I already know I'm going to be dropping this since the rebirth in issue 1. Just not a fan of Hal Jordan. Never really have been unless he's hanging out with Ollie, kind of a thing, back in the day. So in this we get, Sinestro gets re-energized.
Yes.
That part was kind of
Born
interesting.
Again Sinestro, that was kind of interesting.
He sucks the energy out of the parallax and makes himself all reinvigorated. And they're going to control the universe and protect the universe through fear. Through fear. Not will, not the will to be good, but sheer fear of, oh my God, if we're not good, we're going to be annihilated by the Sinestro Corps. So clearly that's going to be a positive thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get Hal flying off, basically being an abusive cop, beating the hell out of some people and try and get them to cough up what the hell happened to the other Green Lanterns.
You kind of show up at the end.
They do. They pop through some portal, some lantern-shaped portal that Stewart has created. They pop through. They've clearly been some battle or whatnot, which has something to do, I think, with the pre-52, whatever was going on in the book before then. I don't know. I have to say that picture looked really cool, this whole of Green Lanterns coming in, but whereas the other book I want to be interested in, have zero desire to be interested in this book.
I'm with you.
All part of the bundle. And the one measly Marvel book we got here, Ms. Marvel issue number 9, Civil War Part 2.
Yeah, this is where the Ulysses stuff hits the fan, so to speak.
Yeah, well, Ms. Marvel, she's all gung-ho to go beat up, arrest, and throw in jail people who might potentially be criminals until they're our friends.
Yep.
Then, oh, wait a second, maybe I'm not cool with this.
Exactly. And I appreciate the fact that, no, that's not totally it.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
then if it's not, what is it?
No, I understand. Well, because I think what they're trying to portray, and perhaps not successfully, is her huge hero worship. It's if Captain Marvel, her hero, says this is an okay thing to do, this is tried and true, this is fine, then she's gonna go, well, okay then.
But what does that have to do with her putting the brakes on the whole thing once it's her friend? I mean, last issue she has a conversation with other friends about it and kind of points out how that's not really a good thing, and she's like, blows it off until it's her friend, until it's somebody she knows. Then she pumps the brakes on the whole, should we be incarcerating people before they've done something wrong? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that per se, because that's part of being human.
I know, and
not being perfect,
and also her age.
Yeah,
because you have to remember that.
Well, I know she's still in high school.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that makes sense because you're because also it's her sister-in-law who talks to her about profiling the most. I think.
Sure, because she's a Muslim, African
American Muslim. Yeah, that's
you can't get more profiled than that, right?
No.
Not in America, anyway.
You get followed everywhere you go.
Yeah. So. I mean, I don't care for the whole Civil War thing as a whole.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that G. Willow Wilson, the writer, is doing a good job of navigating what she has to deal with, tied into this kind of a thing. I mean, there is an interesting thing in there with her with Captain Marvel, who basically doesn't really have time for her.
Yeah, basically blows her off.
And kind of blows her off, gives her a heavy responsibility, even though it's minor crimes. Still gives her a heavy responsibility for her to figure it out, her to be in charge, and then goes off.
Right. Because
Ms. Marvel's luckily she's in charge of her own self, let alone somebody else. You know?
Yeah. Do we not remember how she just recently made 1 million clones?
Right.
That went off the rails.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, exactly. And I almost think that she would be better off if you're going to have a stupid Civil War with Tony in this, because I think Tony Stark's attitude toward her previously, where this stuff is rough, kid, but
sure, except this makes more sense because this is her person.
I'm not saying that doesn't make more sense.
I mean,
I'm just saying that I think that the person who has served her best giving advice recently was Tony Stark.
That's just because he can answer the algebra questions and Carol can't.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway,
I'm still liking the comic. I think we got one more.
He's trying to break his friend out.
And gets himself in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes.
Nightwing, issue number 1.
You know, I'm liking Nightwing.
I don't like the costume.
I'm liking Mr. Grayson more as time goes by. You know, I was never really a big Dick Grayson fan.
Sure, me neither. I liked him as Batman, actually, him and Damian.
Yeah, I loved him. See, that's when I started to really like him. I loved him as Batman. I thought he was really enjoyable in the Dick Grayson comic.
Yeah, he was lame as Robin, and he was lame as Nightwing.
Well, anyway.
And then he had to go back to being Grayson. Now he gets to go back to being Nightwing again.
Yeah, but I'm cool with him. I'm fine with this.
So with Tim Seeley writing it, which is part of the people who wrote Grayson, he still has the same feel.
Exactly.
Dick has the same feel as he did in the last, 19 or however many issues it was we read of that. So that makes it nice. There really feels like no transition as far as that.
Right.
He's gone back to wearing the cape and cowl as Nightwing. They picked up the story that kind of got dropped with him and the Court of Owls, and now it's the Parliament of Owls because it's a worldwide sort of a thing. He is being challenged by them. He's supposed to be their next great protector and person and whatnot, except he doesn't want to play by their rules. He won't kill for them. So they've got some misgivings with him also because he was recruited by Thomas March. Was that his name?
I think so.
They got rid of him. I mean, they killed him in the Rebirth issue. They shoot a crossbow bolt through his head.
Yes.
So you assume he's dead anyway, but it is comics. And so they have misgivings with him. They think that he's a rogue agent too, that he might not, which of course he clearly is. He goes back and talks to Batman. The one thing about this comic that bothered me was he goes to talk to Batman to get Batman's advice, and Batman says, "You're a big kid now, take care of yourself."
Yeah, which is
and shuts the door on him. Which
so not Batman.
Yes and no. I
Well,
mean, it's
feel like
Batman would do it in a much better way. Batman may not be a people person, but he's a people person when it comes to his people under those kinds of circumstances. You know, I can see him having some fatherly conversation to tell him, look, you're got experience enough now. I know you can figure this out and whatever. But the way this reads and the way it's drawn,
it feels like a blow-off.
It's very much, you are wasting my time. Figure it out for yourself. Suck it up, put on the big boy pants, and go off and do your thing.
And maybe that's why I had the absolute insane, crazy, you think I'm nutballs, and I probably am.
I did not say that ever.
Did anybody else think that perhaps his new partner...
Okay, so the Parliament Owls,
chin hair only.
right? The Parliament of Owls gives him a partner because they don't trust him, so they team him up with this other guy, which I'm drawing a blank his name now.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I want to say it's the Predator, but that's not right. Anyway,
maybe I'm wrong.
so
I'm
let's see
wrong.
here. I'm trying to find the picture so we can, all be on the same page here as far as. So here's Batman training with Damian. You're getting some. To see some Batman face here and here. There's the prime example.
Right.
Batman
Scruffy chin hair.
Batman with scruffy chin hair. Then we get to the partner of his, and he has scruffy chin hair too. And so the disembodied voice went, "Hey, that's Batman."
I said, "Could that be Batman?"
Which it could be.
It's Batman.
No, I don't think it's Batman.
I know, because you don't think that he would screw Dick around that way.
No, and I think Dick would figure it out. I think Dick would figure out immediately that it was Batman. Batman's good, but I think Dick knows Batman well enough that I think he would be able to tell if he was putting on some sort of errors.
Yeah, well, do you remember when he's telling Damian that, he faints this way and punches with the right or whatever? So I'm just, I don't know.
Oh, because he's so predictable that to Dick that he might.
Right.
I just don't see. He's a cool looking character. I just don't see what would the point be.
Sure.
What would the point be of Batman doing this to Dick?
So unfortunately,
kick him out like he's a waste of time, and then go beat his ass later that night in Italy. I don't know.
Yeah, the beating his ass in Italy isn't, but it's just, I don't know. So due to similar facial hair, I have probably made a grave error in thinking that it might be Batman, but it would be fun if it was.
I don't know if it would be fun if it was.
I don't know. It would be kind of typical.
Anyway, I'm interested to see where the comics gonna go. I like the voice. They maintained the Dick Grayson voice. My only issue is that he gets beat up in the first issue, and that was my complaint with the last Nightwing run. Is every single issue on the cover and inside he got his ass beat, and I don't need to read a comic book where every issue Dick Grayson gets his ass beat. If it was Tim Drake, I might buy it.
Yeah, you just flip to the
Red Hood,
parts.
Red Hood, and the beaten parts. You're right. I would. Red Hood and the Outlaws. This is the Rebirth issue, and this issue it's all Red Hood. We basically get kind of a back history of Red Hood. So in case you don't know who Jason Todd and Red Hood is, you get kind of an understanding of who he is, what his relationship is with Batman, and then it kind of does that back and forth. We get a back and forth between what's going on now and back then. He comes on the scene and shoots the mayor in the head while Batman's trying to stop him from doing it. Everybody freaks out. The public as a whole thinks that he shot the mayor in the head, which he did, with a narco gun that injected him with an antivirus because his biological nervous system had been hacked.
Right.
And that was administering the thing. It's just Jason Todd likes to go about doing it in a dramatic kind of way and not tell Batman what's going on until after the fact. And
he didn't even tell Batman because Batman figured it out. It's like, why didn't you tell me?
Right.
Why did you assume that I was shooting the guy in the head?
Right. So basically, the story here is there's always this tension about Jason Todd being maybe not fit to be the hero. That he's always stepping over the line kind of thing. And so in this issue, he wants to go deeper undercover because of course the underworld has really glommed on to him being a badass. And he wants to go deeper under to root out the worst evils that are there. And Batman says, no, you can't do it. You can't go in deep like that. You're at risk. And I love that he throws Dick Grayson in his face. Well, you let Dick Grayson do undercover, and now you're letting him do undercover again, and he can do it, because I'm not Dick. I can't do it. And Batman backs off far enough to go, okay, but you crossed the line once, it's over. I'm coming to get you.
Yeah, so he's gonna be, he's gonna be the Red Hood's parent, but he's just like, well, Dick, whatever, later. I don't know.
I didn't think he was being a parent here. I think he's being more than that.
He's policing him. He's
Right.
being his,
Right. He's
That's
making
what I meant.
He's making a permanent judgment on Jason Todd's personality and temperament. So, problem is, it's written by Lobdell. So this issue I really liked a lot. Lobdell occasionally has these kind of Jason Todd, Batman family moments that are really good. In the original, in the 52, horrible dude bro stuff being written in that was really bad. And then you'd have these brilliant moments of him like sitting down at the manor, with Tim Drake, and they're eating pancakes and they're talking about Alfred and about family. Super great moments. So we know they can happen.
So you're just waiting to see which version you get.
No, I know. I know it's coming. It's only a matter of X number of issues, and the shoes are going to drop. And it'll end up being a turkey of some sort or other. I'm intrigued by what's coming, because what's coming, he's ultimately going to be teamed up with Bizarro and Artemis, which could be really interesting, because those are really interesting characters, because the Bizarro in this world isn't the goofy Bizarro, it's the Frankenstein monster Bizarro. It's Lex Luthor's, I'm recreating Superman, I had to take him out of the oven early,
Right.
And so he's, this gray monster kind of thing. So that could be really intriguing. Or make it go the way of Lobdell crap and be bad. So
I guess we'll find out.
yep, I'll get it for a while. Anyway, something else I'm not going to get. Teen Titans, issue number 1. You talk.
I've never been a Teen Titans person.
Oh my God.
I know.
She lives in my house.
I do.
But she's never read Marv Wolfman and George Perez, Teen Titans.
And if I did, I'm sure I would have thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, and then you'd hate this book even more.
Yeah. So
I shouldn't speak for you.
it's okay.
What'd you think of it?
I didn't care about it. It was just, nothing really grabbed me. It just seemed like a lot of
Well, they went nowhere.
babbling. Yeah.
They went nowhere. Half the team stays in the same room all day, the entire time. Brett Booth art, at one point I used to like Brett Booth art. Do not like Brett Booth art anymore. Hasn't changed at all. Everybody's thighs are the exact same thighs. The art makes it a struggle for me to read the book otherwise. I think it's the coloring on the Flash's new costume is weird. He's shadowed and highlighted in blues when he wears a red costume, so it just seems odd to me from that aspect. I don't like the panel layouts and the visual. It's like lots of the pages are a one-room setting, and if you were filming it, like if it was being filmed like a movie or a TV show, the camera's just outside of the circle of people, and it spins around the room. So it will spin behind the couch and around the couch and in front of the couch and behind the couch as they're having this conversation. Except if you're going to do that, and I think you should do it at a very minimum, it used to be a thing they did a lot in the 90s. If you're going to do that, you need to make sure everybody stays in the same place, that people don't start drifting kind of strangely, and they drift in this. That's just picking on the art. Then we can get to the story itself, which is incredibly bland. Ooh, Wally West has got the hots for a girl. Okay, so...
Exactly, and they just go on and on about it.
Right. Like, they're still 13.
Exactly.
Wally's got a girlfriend. Wally's got a
Stop thinking about
girlfriend.
it for 30 seconds so we can figure out what else is going on in your head.
Right.
I know, it's just
Right.
ridiculous.
And the kind of re-delivery of the fact that Roy used to be an addict is poorly done and unimaginative and bland. I wanted cool, because the originals of these characters I love to death, and so I wanted cool, and it's not going to happen.
See, I have really liked those characters in other stories, but there's really, I don't know. Yeah, nope.
Yep. And finally, we get Wonder Woman, issue number 3. Second issue set in the modern realm.
Yep.
Interesting book. Gorgeous art by Liam Sharp. I love the cheetah. We get some really interesting background on the cheetah. Kind of a little more of what she is, how disturbed she is, how much of an abused spouse she is.
Yes.
That there's somebody who has control over her, that kind of cursed her, that's coming to get her, that punishes her. She feels trapped, clearly. You know, she feels stuck having to eat man flesh to stay alive, kind of a thing. You get the impression from Wonder Woman that she doesn't necessarily believe that that part is factual and stuff. So there's all of those elements that were really kind of intriguing. I like that. I'm more intrigued by Cheetah than I am Wonder Woman at this point with this issue. I don't know, the plot moves forward a lot here. More, you get this piece of personality and whatnot. And I don't know if the modern part of the comic is slowed down now because of what's going to be going on in the year one stuff. Not 100% sure. But we get a little bit of Sue Trevor and the crew of them wandering into this mystic land that's clearly, doesn't register on their maps right, and they're immediately captured.
Right, and they're captured by people who work for her.
Yeah,
husband.
her whatever he is. Yeah. The abuser.
So it's kind of interesting. It's like all of finding out all these horrible things about him, and then it's like, and guess who's going to meet him?
Yeah.
So,
but the whole kind of savage land, and tribesmen and all that kind of stuff. The Liam Sharp artwork on it is just freaking cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah. What do you think? Enjoy Wonder Woman?
I love Wonder Woman in general, and it's just nice to have
but it's
people
not
on the book that I'm interested in reading.
Right. So I have a question about all these because we just talked about a whole bunch of DC books. Do you feel like they're going really slow with this 2 week most of these books? Batgirl isn't. I think Batgirl and Nightwing I think is every other week. But I think Batgirl's like once a month. But most of these other books are twice a month. Does it feel like the stories are going really slow?
Like they could be told.
Well, they've stretched it out. Instead of giving us two tight issues a month, we're getting what would have been in one issue. Would have been in 20 pages. We're getting in 40 pages now. Are they utilizing? And if they're going to have a long scene, are they utilizing it?
I feel that yes on the slow and no on the utilization. Okay. Because if you're gonna tell me a story that's if I'm gonna get more story,
we're getting more pages. Mm-hmm.
More pages. I would like more story from my pages.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to go by lightning fast. I'm all for backstory and character development for people who, but we kind of.
But it still needs to move something forward.
Right, and no, I agree with you that they are.
I mean, the Wonder Woman felt fine because, like I said, we get all this really interesting kind of character about Cheetah.
And that's such a different feeling.
Well, and gives us a reason to be invested in her, besides her just being the snarly, villain that Wonder Woman has to work with for some reason. That gives us extra investment in the character beyond her just being, the one-dimensional, the villain. Right. Some of the comics I don't think are suffering from that. Like, I don't think Detective Comics is suffering from that. It seems to be moving forward.
No, and I don't really think that the Superman is either. Maybe a little bit.
Superman, yes, no, Superman. Superman, I think has been pretty solid.
It's the comics we like that seem like they're not going too slow.
Yeah, but maybe that's one of the reasons why we don't like those is because they're not doing anything with the time there. And like I said, for me, I'm all happy with slow moments. I'm very pro, Space Odyssey 2001. Those big, long, which you just never see in movies anymore ever, where you spend 5 minutes just watching something move like this. I'm all for that, and I'm all for that in comics too, if it's going to have an actual legitimate impact. Just kind of pittering about for pages on end. I don't know. And I don't know where the breakdown is. I don't know if it's the writers don't understand how to write pacing for this much more story, or the editors going, we need to take this 6 months worth of story and keep it 6 months with the story instead of a month and a half or whatever. I don't know where that's at, kind of a thing. With Wonder Woman, I don't know if I can completely have an opinion yet because we've only got 2 issues of one part of the story and 1 issue of the other part of the story. And the way they're doing it, I can almost view it as being 2 different Wonder Woman books, which of course doesn't bother me at all. Both of them are good. I'm enjoying both, so that's fine. I was just curious what you thought. If you thought that it was because some of these books were 3 or 4 issues in. I think like Action Comics, I think we're 4 issues in now. And not a whole lot of hell of a lot has happened in Action Comics.
No.
They've fallen in and out of the sewer a few times and then took a trip to the farm.
Yep. And then in between.
With real no character development or anything.
Yes. No. We're this far and we still don't know what the heck is going on with alternate Clark Kent.
Well, I don't know that we're supposed to. I don't know that you need to know all those answers right away.
Yeah,
but
it
get
feels
to
like
something.
we
Get
should
to
know
something. Right? Nothing's gone anywhere with it. That's the problem. Is it's not really done anything. Even the superhero battles. If it was gonna be 4 issues of him and Doomside really duking it out, give me really dynamic art of them duking it out for this proactive battle. It really wasn't even that kind of thing. You know.
And that's probably, yes, one of the reasons why we're not interested. It's not keeping our interest
Right.
because it's slugging along like that.
Right. Right. Flash, this is the first issue to actually give us something other than, ooh, boy, everybody's got the Speed Force now, which, like I said, to me diminishes the character. You know, now we've got an honest threat. I mean, the black hole people were maybe a threat, kind of, maybe. But now you got this one, there's clearly something's there that's running around snapping everybody else's necks or whatever, beating them to death with the Speed Force. So finally, we get an element there. 4 issues in. Yeah, 4 issues in, counting the Rebirth.
Yes.
Counting the Rebirth issue. So, anyway. Yeah. Am I hating Rebirth, though? No.
No.
There's just, I don't know if there's a learning curve in here to try and figure this out or what, but some of the books I'm clearly not going to give the opportunity to learn. For me, anyway. So,
Right.
anyway, anything else?
Nope.
See you next time.
Bye.